Hello YouTube, I'm the Demon Teddy. This is my first video on YouTube, and it's going to be a reply to Milo Stewart's dealing with transphobia and self-hatred.
Let's have a chat about transphobia, shall we?
Okay, but only if you don't bring up internet trolls, because everybody knows that a troll is a troll, and they're trying to get a reaction out of you, which is why they post things that they know will offend you.
If you have ever looked at the comment section on any of my videos, you know that I get a lot of transphobic comments.
I see them trolling, they laughing, 'cause you can't tell they're trolling.
And I have especially gotten a horde of transphobic comments within the past few days.
Trolls, honey, you get a lot of trolls. On a side note, Milo, I've actually read quite a few of your comments on this particular video, and a lot of them are only explaining that you're getting a lot of hate because right now you're coming off as a hypocrite.
This morning I was on my creator app and I was thinking not only about how these comments affect me, but also about how these comments may affect other people.
Really, you were on your creator app and thinking how these troll comments would affect other people. How trolls hating on you would affect other people. And see, this is where my problem with this particular video comes into play. Milo, hate mail you get only affects you. It doesn't affect other people. However, things that do affect other people are overgeneralizations of entire groups. For instance, that thing you said about how all white people are racist, all men are misogynistic, all cis people are transphobic, and I think you're familiar with the rest, because honestly, it's been talked about so often that you cannot possibly not know why they're angry at you. That kind of overgeneralization of an entire group, or in your case, what you did there was you did several groups, that is harmful to other people. Are we understanding each other here?
Of course, there are a lot of people who watch my videos who have been involved in activism for a long time.
Objection! So, let me get this right. You and your community are activists. You go out there and you actively try to make things better for what group? Is it yourselves? Because that's not activism. An activist is a person who, if something happened in their community, like a public library was going to be closed down, they would petition to make it so that that library wouldn't close down. There are people working right now for men to have rights that they should already have by default, but don't because the courts favor women. I actually have a pretty interesting story about that, but I'll save it for a different video. On a more global scale, there are activists as young as 6 years old trying to get more attention to be paid to climate change. Those people that are working for active change for problems that we really have, those are activists.
What the fuck have you done lately?
Not much, I'm guessing.
Just like me, who may not be as affected by these comments.
We've already talked about this. Nobody is affected by the comments except for you, because they're about you.
But I do really worry about how these comments affect people who are not as educated
I don't believe you.
or as used to being in the spotlight. Although it may appear as the hate is just being directed at me, a lot of it affects the entire transgender community.
Proof needed, Milo.
One of my biggest worries is that cisgender people will watch my videos, see the comments, and then brush them off as just good old internet trolls.
I'm what you SJWs call non-binary, I guess. So, I guess that's good news for you. The bad news is that I'm going to tell you there trolls. Get over it.
Of course, some of them are just internet trolls.
Yes, some are internet trolls, and some are trying to explain to you why so many people are pissed off at you.
But a lot of them perpetrate transphobia that is the exact same type of transphobic comments and stuff that trans people deal with in real life.
They're trolls, Milo. Everybody deals with trolls. Stop trying to overcomplicate it and make them out to be a bigger threat than they really are.
People have been saying some really transphobic things, like calling me a creature.
Objection!
They call you a creature because in one of your other videos, you tell them you are otherkin.
Calling me a thing, calling me an it, saying that, like, we're freaks of nature.
A few of them are probably referring to the otherkin thing and not you being transgender. Although I personally don't think that you can be transgender and be non-binary. Because transgender means that you're transitioning from one gender or the other. Non-binary means that you don't feel you belong to either.
Sometimes people have this perception that no one gets as bad of harassment as they do online because people just gets gutsier online because it's more anonymous, they feel like there's fewer repercussions.
Milo, do you know the phrase turnabout is fair play? Because I think this is a case of that. Also, just as a side note, just because trolls make mean comments to you about you supposedly being trans does not mean they are attacking all trans people.
The thing is, I would be willing to bet that a large number of the people who say these transphobic things in the comments would also say the exact same thing to me in real life.
That depends probably on what you say to them. Because I know for a fact that if I were to walk up to somebody and tell them that because they're cis, they're transphobic, that because they're white, they're racist, and because they're male, they're misogynist, they would tell me to go fuck myself.
And I say that because people have said these exact same things to me in real life.
Did it start happening more after you said that all white people are racist, all cis people are transphobic, and all men are misogynistic? Because if it started occurring more after that, that's called an effect. The cause was you saying that. Do you understand? Cause and effect is a real thing. It can visibly be seen.
I have a video about this that probably most of you haven't seen because it was one of my first videos I ever posted, but in sophomore year of high school, I was physically and verbally attacked
I don't believe you.
by someone who became very frustrated and confused because I was passing and then someone outed me to him and he basically physically held me down and would not let me go until I answered the question that he screamed at me, "What are you?"
Believe it or not, that is not a physical or a verbal attack. Could he have been nicer about asking the question? Yes, but we're talking about a person who is confused and frustrated. They're not necessarily going to be calm when those two things are happening at the same time, because that's not how human beings are wired. Now, if you want some actual examples of a classmate physically attacking you on purpose and with intent to harm and injure, I had a classmate who stabbed me with a pencil and I still have the lead embedded in my hand. I had many other instances where I was physically hurt by my own classmates and the teachers did nothing. I have several cases where I was verbally attacked and even threatened and teachers did nothing. I have two incidences where I was stalked by classmates and teachers did nothing. One of my stalkers actually ended up hitting me. They actually got close enough to hit me. And because it was perceived that I fought back against this person who attacked me, I was suspended from school along with this person and told that this person could not be kept away from me during school because that would be infringing on their rights to learn.
You may think that it would be easy to brush that kind of thing off.
I'll be the victim all your life.
Since he didn't actually cause any lasting physical harm to me, but it was an extremely terrifying experience.
This to you is a terrifying situation. Let me give you a worse one. I was told not that long ago that I was going to be thrown out onto the streets because my mother actually believed that I was trying to steal my biological father from her. And she didn't just convince my father of this, she convinced police officers. She convinced townspeople of this. I was berated as being the worst person ever. This led to a mental breakdown, and I did not leave my room for 4 days. It would have been longer, probably, if my caseworker hadn't called. If my caseworker hadn't gotten involved, I would have probably starved to death and my parents would not have fucking cared. That to me is a scary situation.
I ran away in tears, and afterwards I dealt with a lot of the same self-doubt and self-hatred that I did when I was first figuring out my identity and feeling like I would never be accepted as normal in society.
Then I would like you to try and understand my struggle, to understand the struggle of other people, who their parents are far less accepting of them than yours. But let's get back onto the topic of you, because that's the real topic here, isn't it?
And that's my other worry, that young trans people learning to be comfortable with their identity will see my comments and then feel like they will never be accepted.
You're worried that young trans people will see the trolls on your page and actually think that, oh, this person is getting trolled, I'll never be accepted into normal society because this other person is being trolled. No, Milo, you are not all trans people. You are not all non-binary people. We do not all think that we will be trolled, that we will be unaccepted because people don't accept you.
That's something that I dealt with so much when I was figuring out that I'm non-binary.
Wait, so you've arrived to this conclusion that if you get trolled, that other people will think that they won't be accepted because you're getting trolled because you saw somebody else that you respected getting trolled, and so you decided that you wouldn't be accepted because they were getting trolled.
God damn it, are you fucking with me?
That's some epic levels of mental gymnastics. Like, my dyslexia is going fucking nuts right now.
But since I first came out as a trans guy and then later came out as non-binary,
For a moment there, that actually made sense. You came out as a trans guy, and then you later came out as a non-binary person. But then this.
I felt like, well, if I'm a trans guy, then at least I could maybe potentially be accepted by society by transitioning, by passing as cis. But as non-binary,
are you crazy? Or just plain stupid?
Non-binary people do not have it easier than trans people. trans people have things a lot harder because they actually suffer from something called gender dysphoria, which is a thing that they can actually scan your brain and diagnose.
You know, there's just not that type of equivalence, and I felt like I would never be accepted as normal in society, that no one would ever accept the fact that I go by they pronouns.
I will make you a bet that if I went by they pronouns, people would respect me. They would respect the fact that I went by they pronouns and actually call me by they pronouns. But because I find that incredibly stupid and asinine, I don't feel the need to force people to call me they, them, zim, or any other stupid ass Tumblr pronouns that you people come up with.
Since I want my YouTube channel to be a place where people can go and feel better about their identities, feel more normalized, I walk a thin line wondering how much I should moderate my comments.
Why, somebody drop you on your fucking head?
None at all. But if you want to create a YouTube channel where people come to feel better about their identities, then maybe not make videos like this one where you continually bring up how you think that just because something affects you, that it will affect everyone else. Because that's not how things work.
It's really counterproductive.
Finally, something we agree on. It's really counterproductive for you to create a channel where you let trolls bait you into creating videos like this.
To try to have this positive environment for young trans people and then just have it like completely invaded by the transphobic comments.
Eon, transphobic comments. They're not trolls, they're transphobic comments. Eon.
Or maybe it's better that young trans people see these comments so that they have some idea of what they're up against before they face this type of crap in real life in a potentially threatening environment.
On a side note, what exactly do you mean by potentially dangerous environments? Because it seems like for SJWs, potentially dangerous environments are any media source they do not control. Like, absolutely control. If you do not have a safe space, it seems like you people are flipping out and demanding that you be allowed to have one. I don't think you should. I don't think you should be allowed to have a safe space. Any more than I think that a 40-year-old man should have a safety blanket. It's weird. That being said, I do not think that places like YouTube, Facebook, Tumblr are potentially dangerous areas for any group at all. Now then, the way that I see a potentially dangerous environment is in another country, where, as what you consider a non-binary person, I would be shot on sight. Where you, as a trans person, would be shot on sight. Where a gay person would be shot on sight. Places like that are potentially dangerous environments. Those are environments that you should probably stay out of. I know I plan to stay the hell away from them.
I don't want to just use the stereotypical line of it gets better because society progresses.
Are you stupid or something?
It does get better because society progresses. This is a fact. It's not a stereotypical line, it's an actual visible fact. For instance, in the old days, if you told somebody that you felt that you were a man in a woman's body, they would assume that you were mentally ill and take you to an insane asylum. Within the insane asylums back in that time period, you could have any of the following experiments done on you without your consent. They could throw you into a vat of ice water that actually included ice. They could do electroshock therapy on you. They could do leeches. They could even drill a hole into the back of your skull and give you a lobotomy, which is where they scramble your brain. Society progressed, and these things were considered barbaric, and thus the practices were stopped. Do you see what I'm talking about?
But it does so very, very slowly.
It's progressing slowly by whose definition? Because by mine, it's gone to a screeching halt and is trying to go backwards. By SJW standards, it's going forward wonderfully with things like sexually divided safe spaces, racially divided safe spaces, and racially divided housing. All of which are segregation, a thing that Martin Luther King Jr. actually fought against because he thought it was wrong.
I think my main message for people who are maybe dealing with self-hate because they are non-binary, trans.
Milo, you cannot be both non-binary and trans. You have to pick one or the other. Non-binary means that you do not feel you are a male or a female. Trans means that you are transitioning from either a female to a male or a male to a female. This is not a situation where you can have your cake and eat it too. You need to pick one. And I suggest that you stop and you have a deep think about just what it is that makes you think that you are transgender or that you're non-binary. And if self-hate comes into the thought process at all, then maybe you should rethink your station on the whole topic. Because self-hate is not a good thing to do when you're trying to understand yourself. If you hate yourself, you cannot understand yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Any sort of LGBT is just that it feels really hard to deal with when you're dealing with it for the first time. Like the first time you ever have to deal with this sort of dehumanizing transphobia in real life.
God damn it, are you fucking with me?
Dehumanizing transphobia in real life? You mean like the things that happen in other countries where transgender people are shot on sight?
It's just getting over that shock of like, wow, people actually think this is an appropriate way to treat someone.
Hashtag LGBT first world problems. Trolls saying mean things about me on the internet.
As you deal with this more, you become less, you almost become desensitized to it.
If you become desensitized to something, it means that it no longer phases you. But everything in this would tell me otherwise. It tells me that these things still phase you, which, quite honestly, by now they really shouldn't. It's the internet. People are mean on the internet.
And then you learn how to find environments that you don't have to deal with that in.
People that support me, mixed in with more people that support me and say nice things.
That you find your support groups and you realize that you really can be accepted as however you identify.
There is no shame in my safe space.
This is actually not a joke. There really is no shame in your guys' safe spaces. None. At all. And there really should be.
That's why GSAs and LGBT youth groups are super important, and I recommend trying to check out if there are any in your area.
Why do I feel like you're trying to recruit me for a cult? No thanks. I'm already gonna cry about the state of the world affairs once this is over.
If you want some more and be friends and to feel
special!
Like there's a little bit more love and positivity in the world. I don't know. I wanted to get that off my chest. Peace!
Oh sure, there can be peace between us.
Wait,
What?
we cannot break bread with you. I've decided to scalp you and burn your village to the ground.
Tisk tisk Wednesday, we've talked about this. You can't go around scalping people. It'll land you in jail. Anyways, Demon Teddy out.